Well, thanks for joining us again. Today is March 29th, so we want to always say the date of when this was taped because things may have changed. But I want to just in real time capture where some of us are at right now. And we had a great question that just came in after our service related to this tension between, feeling the weight of our circumstances and properly grieving and being healthy about that, and understanding that when suffering comes, we're not just to avoid it. And yet at the same time, how do we also enjoy mirth and pursue things that capture our hearts and remind us that there's beauty and light and beauty shining beyond dark times. So I'll turn it over to you, Derek.
I gotta go first?
Since you're a 7 on the Enneagram, you're always enthusiastic, even in trials and tribulations.
Oh, I've been thinking about this question since it was asked at the end of the service, and it is a hard one to really get a definitive answer to. For me, I think that's something that I've kind of considered even before this whole mess, is like when there are activities and things that I enjoy that I'm either appreciative of the beauty or the fun factor, whatever. But I believe there is the danger to just full distractionism. Like, all right, this is what's going on, so I'm not even going to focus on that and go here. And one thing that came to mind is a friend of mine a long time ago. He was skiing, and I may have told you this story, but he was skiing, going up. He was by himself skiing. Going up a lift, and had a moment of worship. So he was like, all right, I'm looking over like all these mountains, all this snow, there's all these people here that are enjoying this, but in the moment he realized, all right, this was made for my enjoyment. Not for humanity's enjoyment, but when God created the world, he thought that this part, Chris will enjoy this, to ski down this hill. And I thought, I've taken that like with me in a lot of things, like, I'm a cyclist. I love going for a bike ride, and let's be honest, sometimes it is to get away from things like work or just to, but there are times too where in that moment, either climbing a hill and looking at the view, I'm reminded of that conversation I had with him, and then internalizing that, like, oh no, yeah, he made this, for my enjoyment. And in that moment, like, it's not distractionism, it's a moment of worship. So, there's other things that we can treat the same way. I know you brew beer, and I think, a delicious glass of beer is great, but if you're drinking it to get away and to escape, it becomes a problem where it can lead to a destructive path. So, I think for me, answering that question for Harper, I think it's a constant, like, kind of a gut check, or like even praying, like, why am I doing this? What is the purpose? Am I appreciating art in this show that I'm watching, or am I on episode 7 today and I haven't like said hello to my children? And I think there's that, like I said, not balance, but like this gut check, or like what am I doing, and how is that affecting me? How is it affecting those around me? Am I distancing myself from my family because I'm doing these other things? Or am I, genuinely taking time for myself to be healthy, to appreciate God's creation, or his creative mind with art and music and whatever the distraction or activity, like, what is it doing for me? And is it something that, will sustain any growth and or detriment?
What about you, Brandi?
I think I agree with everything you were saying. I think there's so many beautiful things and good things in life that, if taken to the extreme, become unhealthy, and obviously, like, I'm a big reader and writer, and I love story, and so normally I get a lot of that need met, like interacting with people, right? Like sitting around a fire or going on a walk or whatever, and hanging out, sitting around my table with friends. And so not having that piece, it's felt very, it's been more work to have that story connection with people. And so I've had to do that in some creative ways. but it's really easy to go to like reading a story or watching a show to kind of feel some of that, or even the news, to kind of feel some of that need for what's happening with everyone else. And so I think for me this week, which is different from last week, is that this week I have struggled more to have like that focused time with God, like to receive versus being like producing. I've worked a lot this week, and so even having time to do art, which is kind of that like spiritual love language for me, was harder this week than it was the week before to have time for that. And so I think, like you were saying, like finding the beauty in the moment, spending time with my kids, going on a walk, or creating, painting with them. I mean, a lot of it is with my kids right now, so it's like all in tandem. But I think finding those places that speak to our souls is really important, but also realizing like where that tension is between this is good and it's building me up versus this is making me frustrated that I can't do some other things. And sometimes those good things do that for me. Like instead of being like, oh man, I'm loving this walk, I'm like, I'm really sad that I can't do this walk with my best friend, And, great to hang outside with the kids and watch them play, but how much more fun would it be if they had their friends over and they were all jumping on the trampoline? And so finding those places to be grateful, but also hold the tension of like, but I'm also grieving that this community that is so, so important to me is not a regular piece of it, is hard. So I think those kinds of check-ins with each other, like whether it's a text message or FaceTime call or virtual meeting with those people that are kind of in your circle, to say like, hey, how are you enjoying beauty right now? Are you exercising? Are you, eating well? Are you sleeping well? Like having a little bit of that accountability, because we don't have that for ourselves, I think, unless we're just really, really on top of things. It's easy to spend too much time, and not just those good things, but working too much. And that's been a balance for me this week of trying to find that. So having people say like, hey, like, are you eating well? Are you sleeping well? Are you creating? Are you making art? Are you writing? Like, I need those kinds of check-ins.
I would say that one of the things I've always struggled with is I get into duty mode a lot. Here's what needs to be done, and we're just going to focus on that. And that can be really comforting, is to have tasks and things to do that you just can easily ignore what's going on in your life. And certainly in the last week or so, doing my job, there's a lot more going on right now. There's more meetings. And there's now teaching my son's class. I'm the school dad right now. And it's just a lot of interruptions, and I just feel this craving, like, okay, at the end of the day, it's my time, and I just want to check out. And I think where I've always struggled is when things are hard, like I don't feel the permission to experience mirth, like, oh, I'm in this period, so I need to do this. And I think last year when I preached a sermon on joy during the Wholehearted series, and really came across this great, may have been G.K. Chesterton, I can't remember the author of the term defiant joy, but I really have come to love this idea of saying, like, even in the hard, whatever it may be, that it's a faithful act to do things that remind us of what is coming and to bring that into our current circumstance. And so I think for me, like, I've been trying to capture beauty on my jogs. I just stop and take pictures, like captured a picture, and maybe it'll show here in just a second, of when the sun was just coming out after these long days of rain. And it was starting to evaporate the clouds to that tension of of promise, like sunny days are coming the next 3 days and warm weather, Also just recognizing that sometimes what I need isn't just, I need to pray more. I need to go outside. Like, I need some sunshine. Like yesterday, I was like, God, I feel great. I'm like, oh, it's because I was outdoors in warm weather all day, Yeah. And I wasn't looking at the gizmo all day, waiting for text messages. And yet, even the other day, you guys were trying to get a hold of me, and I was on a jog. I was trying to do something for myself, and you're like, hey, can you jump on this call? I'm like, oh, wow, okay. And so I think that these are these things where we have to fight. And I set kind of a boundary. I said, actually, I can't, not right now. And I think there's a fight right there sometimes for us to, as a faithful act, to choose beauty. I think one of my favorite lines from Lord of the Rings is like Sam, Gamgee, sees this star. There's a kind of the clarity of night, the clouds have moved, and he can see it kind of peeping. And there's this word that really gets me. It says, the light of it smote his heart. Smote his heart. Like just in an instant, joy returned to him. And he had this memory that there's light and high beauty in all places. And I think sometimes just something like that happens when we choose beauty or choose defiant joy, or we do things like, you know what, I know a lot of people are suffering right now and I'm there for them, I'm here for them, but shoot, I'm also going to enjoy this moment right now too. And these two things can exist at the same time. And I think that's what we're invited to in faith is we can experience multiple emotions all at the same time. And they can be a faithful response. So great answers, guys.
Thanks.
Yeah. Glad to see you. And we are 6 feet apart, just so you know. And I must have drawn the short straw with the short stool here. I am taller than all these people.
I was trying to slouch a little to make him feel better. So.
I'm enjoying
I've been
my
doing good
throne up here.
posture
This
here.
is like, thanks.
See you later.
Thanks, guys.
I can't do it.
Yeah, that's not it.
No,
My son is a
that's what you're
master
supposed to do,
at
right?
flossing.
You got the top part.
Oh, yeah.
You actually-
Yeah, I don't do the bottom part.